It's too late. Too late for that.
What we're saying is all the time you're pretty much going to start wiping it.
They were cheers, I think.
I think they know whether to sit or stand, Your Honour.
I gather we're connected to Melbourne, is that right?
It appears to be the case. Can Melbourne hear us?
Not hearing you in Melbourne.
We're having difficulty hearing you in Melbourne at the moment.
What should I do?
Is this clearer? Can you hear me now?
That's better, thank you.
Can we do something to control the sound, though? Because it's...
We can hear them.
We can certainly hear them.
Can you hear us now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Can I test this microphone here,
Yes, that's fine.
Mr. Commissioner?
That's fine.
Can you hear us?
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
can hear you. Very well, Ms Finesse, where do we start?
Well, Your Honour, I'm not sure whether there is anyone in Melbourne who has yet to announce their appearance. Is that the case?
Are the appearances all the same down there in Melbourne as they were during the course of the two hearings?
Yes.
Can someone answer for everyone?
Well, no one's putting their hand up.
Sir, my name's David Grace. I appear for Bishop Mulkhearns. I'm not quite sure whether your inquiry was in relation to the matter of Cardinal Pell or in relation to both matters.
No, both matters. In fact, the matters are the Melbourne case study and the Ballarat case study.
Yes, well then, I seek leave to appear on behalf of Bishop Mulkhearns.
Yes, in relation to the Ballarat matter.
Yes.
Yes, very well. Yes, Mr Grace, you have that leave.
Thank you, sir.
Your Honour, there are two directions hearings to be held this morning. The first is in relation to Cardinal Pell and the second is in relation to Bishop Mulkhearns. Beginning with Cardinal Pell, as Your Honour's aware that Cardinal Pell was due to give evidence in person in Melbourne as part of the Archdiocese of Melbourne and the Ballarat case studies in December last year. On the 11th of December, an application was made on his behalf to give evidence by video link. And as part of that application, a report from a treating doctor in Rome was tendered, as was the Cardinal's travel documents. The issue which was made plain in the hearing was the capacity of the Cardinal to undertake a long plane journey. Your Honour made a non-publication order in respect of those documents. Now, on the same date, the 11th of December, Your Honour indicated a number of factors which Your Honour took into account in coming to a decision, and that included that there had been technical problems on the previous occasion that Cardinal Pell had given evidence by video link, and that was in respect to the Melbourne response, and that certainly was not a case where Skype was used.
Well, I think it's been said in the press that Skype was used. It was not used.
No.
But there were problems, as I understand it, in the technical capacity at the Roman end of the transmission.
Yes. In addition, there were significant documents being in play because there were two case studies and each of them concerned a number of priests, and that gave rise to significant complexity as well in the issues. And Your Honour ultimately decided that it was preferable for the Cardinal to give evidence in person, and his evidence was deferred to Ballarat until further information could be provided as to his capacity. And the purpose of this directions hearing is indeed for Your Honour to hear and determine applications in respect of his capacity.
Yes. Mr Myers, do you want to speak on behalf of Cardinal Pell?
Yes, I do, sir. In accordance with what I understand to be a direction that was given, my instructing solicitors have provided to the Commission a further medical report dated the 29th of January and a translation of it by an authorised translator.
Do you seek to tender that?
I do seek to tender it, and do you need further copies, sir, because we've brought...
No, I have a copy. Where are we up to with exhibits, though, Mr.
It will be Exhibit 28D, Your Honour.
28D.
That's the further evidence that we rely upon. As well, there's a matter of which possibly you, sir, have noticed that there was a trial last evening of a video link between Rome and the Commission, and I'm instructed that it was entirely satisfactory.
I think a different location in Rome was used.
It was, and up-to-date, state-of-the-art, or whatever description one uses, equipment, and it all worked pretty well, I'm told. And of course, the Commission knows itself that it's taken video evidence on many occasions when it's convenient to do so, more than 50 occasions. I'm instructed that Cardinal Pell wishes to give evidence to the Commission as soon as possible, and he would make himself available to give video evidence if it were convenient to the Commission at the commencement of the Ballarat hearing on the 22nd of this month, or so soon thereafter as the Commission could do so. The Cardinal's view is that it's very important that he give his evidence as soon as may be, while the evidence of others is fresh, and he certainly wants to avoid the appearance that he's unwilling to give further evidence. As you know, sir, he's already given evidence twice to this Commission, once in person over a period of 3 days, and once by video link where it was less successful. We therefore do renew the application that Cardinal Pell's evidence be received as soon as may be, and by video link.
I'm sure you appreciate, Mr. Myers, that others have had to give evidence on multiple occasions, including Archbishop Aspinall, who gave evidence for the 4th time yesterday. That's just an inevitable product of the positions they've held in their various institutions.
Indeed, I do understand that, and all I'm saying is that Cardinal Pell, when he was able to, was not unwilling to travel to Australia and give evidence before the Commission, but for the reasons that are set out in the medical opinion to which I've referred, that's not the position at the moment.
Well, that doesn't preclude his travel, does it? The doctor opines that it would be difficult for him to undertake a flight that could entail serious risks to his health.
That's so.
It doesn't say he can't come.
Well, anyone can get on a plane, sir. The question is, what are going to be the consequences of it? And without interrupting myself too much, I should perhaps have said that we do claim confidentiality for the report, but if it were desirable to have the last 2 paragraphs not confidential, then the doctor has agreed to that, as you will have seen, sir. And in those paragraphs he says, the clinical problems which your evidence presents therefore make it difficult for you to undertake a flight to Australia, which could entail serious risks to your health. That is where the matter stands.
Well, it is. Mr. Myers, I will make a non-publication order for the report today, but to the extent that it may be necessary in any reasons that I give in respect of this application, it may be necessary for me to disclose further material, but I'll consider that in due course.
Thank you.
It's in, of course, if the decision is that he give evidence by video link, it's in his interest that people know why.
I don't think Cardinal Pell is unaware of that, but the actual details of his condition, I think any of us would not want those details publicised.
Well,
it's not the general nature of the condition.
No, well, I'll consider that in the course of the day. Tell me this, if he gives evidence by video, I think it's going to take more than one hearing day. And Ms Vaness can tell us more about that. And also, I don't know what the other parties, particularly those in Melbourne, will want to do. But Rome's 10 hours behind us.
Yes, it is.
What are your suggestions as to when we would see?
I've thought about this, as you have, sir, and there's going to be inconvenience on both sides, probably. I would suggest that it's unreasonable to simply commence at 10 o'clock, say, Eastern Australian summertime, when it's...
I accept that submission without question, but what do we do?
It struck me that very early in the morning in Rome might be the best time. I think...
Can you define very early in the morning for me?
Well, if one started... And I don't have instructions about this, but I was thinking about it this morning. If one started at 5 o'clock, it means one has to get up at 4 o'clock and travel across the city, no doubt. I'm not sure how far this office is from residence.
I think I'd need a firm position from you. Is it possible? I mean, we thought maybe if we started late in our afternoon, an early morning in Rome, but how early would be the question? I have no idea of the geography that he has to get, where he has to get to and from and so on.
Well, my instructions are that he will fit in with whatever the Commission determines in that regard. He has a confidence that there won't be something that's completely unreasonable, and of course the Cardinal doesn't know what are the logistics that face the Commission in conducting a hearing by video link. Therefore, we leave it in your hands, and he will cooperate with any time that you choose.
The second thing is Ms Vaness tells me that there is still significant evidence that absolutely has to be called in Ballarat.
Yes.
In relation to particularly the Christian Brothers in Ballarat, and organising court time in Ballarat is difficult because the court's, of course, part of the Victorian county court system in particular.
Yes.
And I assume from what you said, the Cardinal wouldn't be concerned if his evidence was in fact taken in the week after the Ballarat sitting and perhaps taken in Sydney.
No, he would not be concerned. He expressed a clear preference that he be able to give the evidence as soon as the Commission can accommodate that. And I haven't inquired about his program over the next month or so. One assumes that it's a fairly busy one each and every day. But if we're talking about some date in late February or early March, I'm sure that will be able to be accommodated.
Yes, thank you. Ms Vaness?
I don't know whether Your Honour wishes to hear from anyone else in respect of the application.
Well, I do. Is there anyone else down there in Melbourne who wants to say anything in relation to Mr Myers' application?
Yes, Your Honour.
Could you tell everyone who you are and who you appear for again, just so that everyone watching understands?
My name is Paul O'Dwyer, Senior Counsel. I appear for Mr Sleeman. Is Your Honour on
yes.
the other?
No, I'll take you one by one. What's your submission?
Your Honour, our primary position is that my client certainly wants the presence of Cardinal Pell for obvious reasons. Your Honour, in my respectful submission, a situation where we do not know the grounds of Cardinal Pell's application is unsatisfactory. Your Honour has only in fact heard the French view of France, and we've had no opportunity to make any submissions in relation to the thrust of what Cardinal Pell says about his health. We submit that you would be assisted by our submissions. The fact that Cardinal Pell wants to keep confidential the details can be overcome or can be accommodated by undertakings and so forth. But I simply put to you, to the Commission, that it's unsatisfactory and unfair when, in circumstances where we wish very much for Cardinal Pell to appear in person, that we have no knowledge whatsoever of the details of what it is that he says about his health, and had no opportunity to test that in any particular way. We say it's a critical matter for the Commission that he attends personally, and we say it's insufficient that we have no real opportunity to make proper submissions about this.
Yes, thank you. Anyone else?
And Cassie Sir Pell, I appear on behalf of Julie Stewart, BVD and BTU. I have instructions from all three of my clients, and the position, which is a mutual position on behalf of each of those clients, is that whilst they would clearly prefer to have Cardinal Pell give evidence in person for a variety of reasons, but including avoiding any technical difficulties and being able to have a case that is easily attended to in the logistical sense, save the Royal Commission obtaining funding for his evidence to be obtained in Rome, they would prefer his evidence to be taken sooner rather than later, subject to my availability to coincide with any of the dates that might be given, if that's the course the Royal Commission chooses, to take his evidence via video link. The timing issue is one I expect might be for another day, given the lack of clarity about Cardinal Pell's movements.
No, I think the timing issue is a matter for now.
Well,
a lot of people, including your client, of course, as you rightly point out, have an interest in the hearing of this matter being completed in an appropriate way at the earliest date, because it's now been a hearing that's extended over some time.
yes, Your Honour.
One possibility, as I mentioned to Mr. Myers, is that we will come to Ballarat to take evidence, but that would be in relation to the Christian Brothers. And if I decide that Cardinal Pell will give evidence by video, we would come back to Sydney, because we won't have the court for more than 1 week, and take his evidence by video in Sydney, if that's the course that I decide we should take. Now, that would be in the week following the week in Ballarat.
I'm not sure what week that is, Your Honour, but...
It commences the 29th of February.
29th of February, I'm told, is the Monday.
Thank you. Yes, well, as it's a matter for now, I can indicate my availability on the 2nd, 3rd and 4th of March, and the 10th of March. I doubt we'd be looking that deeply into March, but 2, 3 and 4 March are dates that I'm presently available.
Well, I regret to say that I don't think I can determine when it would be on the basis of Council's availability. There are other and very great pressures upon the Commission's capacity to hear all of the public matters that need to be heard this year. So I'm afraid we'll all have to make adjustments to what ultimately we can achieve.
Yes, and I'll endeavour to fit in with whichever dates are selected, if that's the course that's adopted.
Yeah.
Those are the matters really that I wish to the submissions I wish to make on this matter.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to say anything down there?
Yes, Your Honour, please. It's Jim Shaw. I appear for Mr Collins and Mr Woods. I support my learned friend Mr O'Brien SC's, O'Dwyer, beg your pardon, Mr O'Dwyer SC's submission regarding the medical report. None of us have been able to see it or to read it or to assess it in any way, so there's no opportunity to make submissions on the very issue that Cardinal Pell is using to support his submission or his application to give evidence by video link, and I suggest that ought to be produced to the parties. Obviously, as Mr O'Dwyer said, we can have undertakings regarding its confidentiality. So do seek access to that report. The other matter with the video link, is it known whether the test that was done last night involved using documents? In the sense of if a document is being looked at, is it going to be possible for Cardinal Pell to see it and then we can all see it and there's not going to be delay or anything like that?
Well, Ms Vanessa may know more than I, but I think documents were involved. But if there is to be a video link, I will be sending one of my people to Rome.
Yes.
And, of course, all of the relevant hard copy documents will have to be in Rome as well.
Yes, all right. Well, if hard copies are there, then that I suppose won't be a great problem. Thank you, Your Honour, for that indication. All right, those are my submissions. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else there in Melbourne? Do you want to say anything?
The Commissioner, please. My name's Christine Hanscom. I appear for...
You need to find that microphone a little closer to you, I think.
Sorry, is that better?
Yeah.
My name's Christine Hanscom. I appear for BAA, BAB, BWA, Peter Blenkiron, Robert Handley, and most relevantly to this morning, Timothy Green, in the Ballarat case study. As Your Honour may remember, Timothy Green had given his evidence, been examined, been cross-examined, had been excused. He was then recalled at the request of Cardinal Pell's lawyers. He found that a stressful experience, but voluntarily complied. He returned. He was cross-examined by Cardinal Pell's lawyers. Timothy Green is very anxious to see this matter completed and, to the extent he can, to put it behind him. I support the submissions of Mr O'Dwyer in respect of the medical material and do submit that with any appropriate undertakings, those with a direct interest, such as Mr Green, ought to be able to understand why it is that they can't confront Cardinal Pell in person in the hearing. As to timing, given the problem of turning the Queen Mary round, which Your Honour faces with the logistics, we should, of course, all fit in whenever possible, but it would be most undesirable in my submission, were the evidence to go beyond the second week of the Ballarat sittings. They're the submissions I wish to make, Your Honour.
Mr Myers, thank you. Mr Myers, there is a question about the content of the medical report and at least some proper understanding being available to those with a real interest in Cardinal Pell's coming.
Your Honour, all I can say is this, and we've tendered it, we've made an application, and we're in your hands, sir, to exercise good judgment and to balance the respective interests of the parties who wish to know more and the reasonable concern of a person not to have intimate details of medical condition
if I was to confine it to counsel with an appropriate undertaking, Would you be content with that position?
I would have to say yes, sir, of course. We must be in your hands, and we respect the judgment that you would exercise in this matter.
And I take it there aren't copies in Melbourne of the report, are there? Or not?
No, Your Honour.
No.
Sorry? No?
No, Your Honour.
No. Is there a capacity, Ms Finesse, for us to immediately get it to council at the bar table in Melbourne?
I'm not quite sure about immediately, Your Honour, but certainly we could
Well, I have
do
in
it
mind
quickly.
that I shouldn't complete the submissions until, and I am minded to say that council should be able to see it now with an appropriate undertaking, but I should allow the opportunity for it to be read before receiving any further submissions that anyone wishes to make.
I would be confident, Your Honour, that the relevant material could be translated to a court officer in Melbourne who's attached to the commission, and then it be provided.
We have a court officer there, do we?
We do.
I wonder if he could come into view and come to a microphone.
Yes, Your Honour. My name's Lewis Winter from the Office of Solicitor Assisting.
Is there
and I have a copy of...
You have a copy of the report, do you?
Yes, I do, Your Honour.
Very well. Well, that's the first step. I take it you have access to a photocopy of there.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. However, would the council be content with each of you viewing the one copy? It's a two-page document. It's not very long.
That would not be a problem. I don't think there are many who want to see it, Your Honour, and
Well, there are only three.
I think that could be accommodated.
I'm acting on the assumption there's only three people that I will allow to see it.
Four, Your Honour.
Four. Oh, yes, of course. I'm sorry. Four.
Mr O'Brien.
Yeah. Who hasn't said anything at this stage?
Yes, I know.
No, Mr O'Brien appears with me in one case and for other people in others.
Yeah, that's right. Well, do council give me an undertaking that if the medical report is made available to them, they will confine its contents to themselves and not publish it further?
I give that undertaking, Your Honour.
I also give that undertaking, Your Honour.
Your Honour, I give that undertaking.
Mr O'Brien?
Your Honour, I also appear on behalf of BPD and Mr Phil O'Donnell, and I give that undertaking.
Very well. That means you understand it can't be shown to your clients. It's just got to be confined to council. And you the same? Do you wish to see it?
I do wish to see it, Your Honour. Is Your Honour minded to extend permission to see it to my instructing solicitor here in court?
No, I think it should remain with council at this stage.
If Your Honour, please.
If you want to say something further when you've seen it, that's another matter. But,
yes, I give the undertaking sought, Your Honour.
Very well. Now, I think in that circumstance I should defer final submissions in relation to Cardinal Pell's application until council have had a chance to consider that report, but I'll adjourn in a moment to allow that to happen. But Ms Finesse, what about Bishop Mulkhearns? What's the position there?
Well, Your Honour, it might be sensible to complete the directions hearing in relation to Cardinal Pell and then continue with Bishop Mulkhearns.
Whatever course you wish to take. Would you like me to adjourn then now?
I would, Your Honour.
Very well. I'll adjourn briefly, and unless you might let me know when you've heard from Melbourne that they're content to conclude their submissions.
I will, Your Honour.
Very well. I'll adjourn.